Cheers, everyone.
Cheers!
Yarp.
Do you know how lucky you are to be alive right now?
Feels pretty lucky. If you'd not arrived when you did, who knows what might have happened?
No one has been that close to the creature and lived to tell the tale.
There's been a dozen or more bounty hunters either missing or found dead since we got here.
What did it look like?
Well, it was hard to see clearly, but it was big.
Yarp.
Its jaws were huge and full of teeth.
Yarp.
But the really scary part was its eyes. There was a spark in them. An intelligence.
Hello and welcome to the LARP Noobs podcast. It's been a while and we've got a very special friend of ours on today. It's Sol or Farron. Thanks for joining the podcast and thanks for being here.
No worries. I've been mentioned on enough.
Yeah, I thought it's about time we had you on really and got an opportunity to talk to you about some of the sort of topics. And we kind of wanted to focus maybe on the experience of being a solo LARPer, because obviously
Sure.
Me and Dave had...
Hello.
So yeah, hi Dave. We when we kind of started, we came as a group, and obviously didn't really. We were kind of blown away really by some of the things where some people obviously were coming on their own, and the experience of being solo LARPers.
Yeah, so for context for this, Sol was one of the first people that ever got in touch with us and actually told us about him going by himself to LARP and how we all thought how very brave that was. And then we ended up bumping into him. So that's how we know Sol. And Sol actually told me a story where someone actually asked him whether he was Sol off the podcast, which is hilarious.
Yeah, so no, that's my other solo LARPer friend who gave me a lift that one time.
Yeah. Is that Phil?
That is Phil.
Yeah, Phil, who's another listener of the podcast, who's also a solo LARPer. Yeah. Both of them wonderful fellows. And it looks like both of you actually kind of took to solo LARPing like ducks to water from what we understand, right?
Well, I think the fact is it's not solo LARPing for long. It's more kind of your first or second event where you're heading out there, putting yourself out there, just trying to meet people on the field. And then past that, you're going to LARP to meet your friends from LARP. It's
yeah.
Definitely doesn't feel like I'm going alone now.
How was it like? Because I was obviously fairly nervous about going to my first like Empire event. Like how was it for you, like doing the prep and actually getting your stuff together by yourself? Like you didn't really have anyone to froth with, right?
I learnt about LARP and Empire about a year and a half before I actually went. So I had a year and a half of kind of looking things up, going through phases of kind of shopping, window shopping on the internet, watching videos, watching as much media about LARP as I could.
Yep.
And then, finally psyched myself up the courage. I was free. I just finished school. It was that summer, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get some gear. I ordered it for my birthday. I made some things. I was a scout, so I had a lot of kind of the camping side, so I wasn't too stressed about that. It was more...
I was also a scout, by the way. I just want to say that. I was in charge.
I was not a scout.
I was the guy that was in charge of, like, I was the top scout out of an enormous group of 7, but I was the top dog in my scouting group.
Is it a sixer? No, it's Cubs. It was I can't remember.
I was a cub before that, to be fair.
Patrol
leader?
Yeah,
I think...
Patrol leader?
Patrol leader?
Is that one?
I don't know, that sounds very military.
Yeah, but it got quite military in like above a bit. But
It had like a natural feed into like the army cadets and stuff like that, didn't it? After a while.
Or LARP.
Or LARP, yeah.
Or LARP.
So
Yeah, anyway,
when you decided to go, was it a case of you were always intending to go on your own, or did you kind of talk to friends about it and see if anyone...
Did you try and hustle anyone else into it?
So, it was. I had to go. I heard about this thing. It is the most amazing thing that I've ever heard about, and I was like, right, I've got to get this. I'm obviously not going to go with my family, and they're not as interested or not as into it. I could probably coax them now that they hear all my stories about it. But the fact is I had many friends that weren't quite as inclined to the nerdy side of life. Is probably the kind way to put it.
Yeah, sure, I get that.
So same with like D&D and things. I didn't really have a group to play with, so it took me quite a long while from when I got the books. When 5th edition actually came out, it took me quite a while to actually get into games and start running things like that.
You're a real D&D nerd as well, right? Like that's definitely one
huge.
of your big passion projects.
Huge.
So it kind of leads into it, right?
I think it was definitely a reason for me being so excited for this kind of thing. It's just role playing and worlds and fantasy.
Yeah. Did you see before you went it more like an extension of D&D?
No, I don't think I did. Interestingly, I know there's always kind of the view of, well, it's D&D, but the combat is you hit people instead. I never really saw that. I saw it more as just a complete escape where I can just be someone else for a whole weekend. Interestingly, I don't think I subconsciously ever made that link, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. I've taken part in a couple of other LARPs, probably smaller LARPs, and in some of those systems, they've kind of tried to take the tabletop games of like D&D and your other tabletop RPGs and turn that into a LARP. And while it still has the aspects there, you still have calls and you still have, the weapons and all of that and the role-playing, it just feels a little bit too complicated and a little bit too forced, and it doesn't really work while you're just there doing it live. It just doesn't. It doesn't have the structure.
Rules and LARP are like I think it very much depends on the individual, right? Like I went to that Blind Dogs event and it was very rules light. So, right, like it kind of like if you get hit by an axe, act like you've been hit by an axe, right? Which sounds, good unless you've been shot multiple times over a weekend and you're still still trucking on, But I think I would prefer to be on the rules lighter end than the...
Yeah, definitely. And I think
it depends. I don't have that huge amount of experience with it, to be fair.
I think, though, as I've got more into even going back to tabletop role-playing, I think I've found that I tend to prefer lighter systems, more flexible systems. And certainly rules have their place, but I think there is this kind of... There's something very nice about the fairly honed set of rules that exist in Empire, and it's something that you can teach someone very quickly, but those rules are sort of honed enough that they can lead to a lot of depth at the same time.
Agreed. I think just to take to the field is remarkably easy at Empire. I think it's maybe a page of actual text you really need to read, whereas if you want to be into more specific things like being part of the Senate or understanding other stuff, that's when you'd have to learn more. But just to take to the field, the actual rules themselves are quite limited, right? Like the fighting, right? Just count how many times you get hit. That's pretty simple, right?
And
anyway,
there were only 14 or so actual calls in the whole thing to do with combat, and there's not too many to remember, and a lot of them are self-explanatory. You can, and if you forget,
very much so,
just go down,
do what everyone else does. yeah, not sure, just die. So okay, let's talk about like solo LARPing. So I did, and I'm gonna kind of, I'll mention this now because there's I'll probably reference it, but I did a Facebook post on the Empire Facebook page and basically asked people like, are you a solo LARPer or ever have been, and how was your experiences? The vast majority of them were really positive, like you are, right? Like, my first event, I was going as a solo LARPer, but then I found my feet and then I met other people and I found a good group and blah, blah, blah. There was the odd smattering here and there of people that basically said that it almost universally, the people that had a negative experience they had a negative experience with our group or our person, right? Like, so they were kind of in this vulnerable place by themselves going to Empire, and they just had a bad experience, right? With their first group or second group that they came into contact with. I don't know. What do you think about that, guys? I mean, it seems kind of, I could see how both of those could happen fairly easily, right?
I think, like, from it could well be that, I mean, obviously you'd be better positioned to answer, Saul, but I think when you're on your own, you're essentially only dealing with yourself as the only sort of prism to view it through. You don't have anyone else to bounce a bad experience off or any of that. So everything is potentially more magnified, more amplified.
Yeah, you're like I was saying, you're vulnerable, right? Like I think going to LARP anyway, you're in a vulnerable state. I think going on your own is just like exacerbating that, maybe superficially, but I don't know. For some people, very really, you know.
Yeah, no, there is definitely kind of an anxiety. You're jumping into a world that you have no idea about. You have no footholds in, and you've just got to start talking to people and understand what's going on to a point. And the only way you do that is by asking questions of, what's going on? How do I do this? Where's this? Who are you? I'm supposed to talk to this person? How do I get into crafting? How do I get into, the artisaning or, combat? And where are the skirmishes? Okay. What's the time?
Let's be specific here. Like when you first went to Empire, right? So you camped OC, you get your stuff set up.
Yeah.
You head to the time in, and it's time in. Like, what was your experience there? Like,
so actually, I take it back. I came on the Thursday, and I think that was a very good idea for for starting, because you get to just kind of chill, meet people OC. Some of them you don't see again throughout the whole weekend, but you've kind of done your first initial hello, I'm here, I'm come to LARP. What's this all about? And start talking to some people who have done it, and you start to build up a better picture than what you have done at home, kind of reading the wiki and things. You start to build up that picture, and so you can start to understand more about how your weekend is going to go. That being said, Friday you've got all of those new player meetings and combat tutorials and all of that, which again were very useful to kind of get you into the mood, get you thinking about the game, and get you into the world very quickly. But then 6 o'clock hits.
Yeah, on the Friday.
And 6 o'clock is fine, because at timing, everyone is super busy. We go to standing. Yeah. After standing, we go to meetings, and I think I went to Thorn's Council. Made the most sense. Learned about combat. There was an election that I took part in without knowing anything about this, but you're just you stand in a line.
You ran for a position.
Yeah, you're just like no, I did not run for the position. Okay. No. But you listen to their things. They say some things. You have no idea about who was there before, what is actually going to be good for the world, for Empire. You don't know Navarre yet, and yet I'm voting on their military leader. Cool. Well, that was fun. I fall in with a crowd with some people that I actually met on the Thursday. Just sat around their fire, just kind of used that as a base point to just go and say hello, see what was going on.
Like a good anchor point where you can actually know that you feel a little safer, right?
Yeah. And then I kind of just walked and walked and walked and just kind of took it all in. It was surreal. You're just looking around the world, the world of Anvil. You're just seeing the tents in the night time. And just go, this is incredible. You're walking past people in full kit, having arguments on the side. You're just kind of ogling over, just going, okay.
Yeah.
And just,
I think that's definitely something to be said. Like, even if because we were definitely like tourists at Empire for a while. Right? Yeah. I don't think there's anything.
It's Harry Potter
wrong with that.
At Hogwarts in that first.
Yeah, especially when
movie.
when you're first finding your feet. Like, you're learning about not only. Okay, so there are in-game cultures, but I would say like Empire has a feel and a culture to it. It attracts like lots of different types of people, but you know what I mean, like a community has a vibe to it, and I think it's very interesting, like you said, walking around and kind of just taking it in really as you go is quite interesting to kind of get just to acclimatize yourself to how are people approaching this giant festival, with LARP.
There is a landscape and a vista to LARP, which I think. You can spend a lot of your sort of initial experience just traveling around, especially to a fest LARP, I would say. The scale of it is bewildering, and all of the different nations and all the different costumes, the sights and sounds of LARP, you can easily get lost in it. And to be honest with you, you could spend your whole event, and I'm to a large part, I think we did for our first event, is just kind of being wide-eyed by the scale and the scope of everything that's around you.
With giant grins on our faces, right? Just wandering around like aimlessly, right? Like, so what took your eye do you remember what took your eye like when you were walking around?
I think it was as night fell, the sun just peeking or heading behind the horizon, and you just see the field of tents with all their little lights starting to go, the fires are starting to happen, and you just see people walking and getting up to business or things, and you can just stand there and watch the world go past. And I think that was just the most beautiful vista, is standing at the top of the hill and just watching it all.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
There are some beautiful views at the campsite that they're using at the moment, where you can actually just kind of gaze across the whole of the field.
The Navarre camp's right on the top of the hill, right? So you actually, when you're walking down, you get a really great view of an awful lot of the camp. Not so much of Wintermark necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like that whole walk down up to the strip where the main bars are and stuff. It's so great.
But I think also the first time you go, the other thing is a lot of the fascination of it is that whole thing of I have funny money essentially that I can spend on things.
Interestingly, I had that money, but I really didn't use it, and I think I should have used it more to begin with. I think I had this feeling of this is my funny money, and this is all the money I'm going to get this weekend, kind of thing. So I kind of clenched hold of it and didn't want to waste it.
It's also you feel like a throne is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's like
not when we're hitting the tables in.
Well, no, not with you two high rollers, obviously, but like I would say for a new solo player, like spend the money unless you're like got something you need
it's
to do
difficult
with
though,
it.
isn't it? Because as a solo larper, your resources, if you don't have a group or you don't have people that you can fall in with, you can't pool your resources in any way. Because if you think about it, originally when we started, and I think any kind of group that goes together, there is that instinct of everyone tips their stuff out, looks at what they have and says, oh, what can we buy and what can we get for this? And you kind of do game
maybe.
it.
I think that, I don't know, that's kind of, we do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of
I
groups
don't know.
that will fall into that sort of default mode. And I think as a solo LARPer, your resources are finite, especially as you don't have really a bearing on what the cost and value of various different things are. That's something you have to discover, right? How much?
Definitely.
Sure. And I think what I would say is spend it, because I've had a business for the first year or so until it made sense for me to get something else, change it. But having that business, I never spent the thrones. I was I just saved them up, and actually no, we'll get to that, because I think my first event I did actually have to spend it, but that was some big event stuff.
Interesting. I think like the problem, a lot of this stuff as well is Empire is a team game, right? Like it's most of the systems involved in Empire are group activities, or at least you have to like interact with people to really get the most.
It's a social game. It's a social game.
I'm talking about things like, right, the anything to do with the Senate is all talking, right? Anything to do with the Synod, that's all talking, and building support for all of those, right? If you're into the military game, then you have to argue a point on why your army needs to go here or there. Like, all of these aspects are kind of, even the rituals are better the more people you get involved doing them, right?
I think that's all very true, although it is important to say that you certainly don't have to number many to have a great impact on the game.
Oh, at all. No.
Agreed. And also, like, it depends on how much you want to meta it, or what your...
Yeah.
It depends whether you want to win the game of Empire, which isn't a thing. You can go there and just roleplay.
If you're trying to improve the state of the Empire, or improve the condition of your nation, or your agenda on some political level, then you are probably going to need to work with people, and you're going to need to have allies, and you have to get a support basis and all of that kind of stuff. But a solo person can come in and create great waves just by essentially pinballing around and just clattering around the kitchen essentially of LARP, and you can make a lot of noise as very few people.
Yeah, agreed. I think there are people out there who are better at data mining than maybe I am, but if you maybe went through the wiki and really found something, especially in the Winds of War or Winds of Fortune, that was like actively happening, a lot of it's up there and you can kind of like trawl through it and read about things. Come up with a stance on something that is active in the game that weekend is a great way to kind of like learn as you go, by just have that conversation with different people and see how you get on with it, right?
So there was a point, I think, where I was just kind of sitting around the fire, not just chilling, just sitting around the Navarre fire pit, not really knowing what I wanted to do, not really kind of just sitting there, just taking it in. And some guy from Wintermark turned up, and he saw I was kind of just sitting there alone and not really knowing what I wanted to do. And he came and talked to me, because LARPers are great. They will do this kind of thing. They'll come and make game for you. But yeah, he came over and he explained that he was a trader and did a lot of trading within Wintermark. He's bounced about the place, and he came up to me and he went, "So, tell me about Navarre." And I went, "Okay then." And I rolled off as much as I could have remembered from my readings of the wiki. Bearing in mind I've had a year and a half to prep for this, I had read the wiki page quite a bit to try and build up hype for myself and keep it going.
But did you sound like Data, like reading off like the wiki? Did you sound like you're reading off the wiki, or did you give it some oomph? Do you know what I mean? Maybe some flair.
You know me. I would not just throw it out there. We've got to put some theatrical spin on this.
The person listening doesn't know that, Sol. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So no, of course, I tried to explain it as much as I thought my character would know. But I was kind of I just rattled it off, and I got to the end, and he went, "Wow, you know a lot. Is this your first time at Anvil?" And I went, "Yeah." He went, "You know a lot. You know a lot more than many people here." And I went, "Oh, thanks." And interestingly, that gave me a real confidence boost, and I think that was on a lull on the Saturday, because I think it took me quite a while. I think the Friday night passed, and then it got into the evening. I joined some people for kind of popping around the pubs or whatever, the group that I'd found just before. We'd been going around, went for some drinks. So Friday night was kind of okay. Saturday, the battle in the morning was excellent. I went along. It was Monster Ring. Everyone's kind of getting involved, and that was my first experience on the battlefield.
I think the battles can have a massive impact. But certainly, obviously not for everybody. It depends what kind of game you're into. But I think for us, the battles, they're just so different. So the scale of everything is just so much grander than.
Dude, I think we were enchanted by our Friday night there, right?
Yeah.
But the battles were like.
Whoa!
That was just mind blowing. Like the genuine,
the scale
giddy
of it.
Excitement, just incredible fear, excitement. Like it's crazy watching the battle lines move out. Even just
scary.
But then just to look at them. But then at the same time, you're like, I'm about to interact in all of this. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm going to be an active part in it. Is something so fantastic.
There is no escape from it, and I think that's a very, very beneficial thing. You can't escape the role play in the battlefield, and it's definitely a booster in that fact.
No,
the adrenaline of it.
Some people run away. But.
Yeah, but I mean, even that in itself is exciting, right? Just the physics of the battlefield, as you were. It's just a spectacle. And it's amazing to be a part of. I mean,
any worries I had from the day before about Empire instantly disappeared for the 2 hours I was on the battlefield, because you are worried about something else, and that is Imperial heroes trying to chop your head off.
Imperial scum.
I was going to ask actually, with regards to being a solo LARPer, I suppose we've kind of focused on some of the sort of natural fears and maybe sort of, if you like, some of the potential kind of downsides of being a solo LARPer. But are there positives and benefits, do you think, of being a solo LARPer?
So I think we'll get to this, because I feel that there was a turning point in my first event, which is the major benefit of being the solo LARPer, that has then just increased throughout events. Okay, so although Friday night was decent, Saturday morning battle was epic and the best. Post Saturday morning battle, I had a real rough time, honestly.
Adrenaline
dump. You have no idea what to do. You've already spent 6 p.m. till late, not really knowing, getting to know Empire, but not really doing anything.
Yeah.
You still haven't really decided what you want to do. And in fact, I'd spent no XP, so I had come in as a complete blank slate, ready to apprentice or, learn about things. but again, it was really hard to find the people to learn about. I think I just didn't do a good enough job of kind of speaking to people. And I
hate to say this in like a Buddhist way, but was it the things that you expected to be getting that were giving you your suffering at that point, right? Like, did you feel like, oh, I wanted to do more, and I don't feel like I'm getting the most out of it. I'm tired, and I don't know how to do it. And
entirely,
right?
I think, and it really didn't help. It was just kind of a spiral. But yeah, no, I'd come in as a blank slate. I thought I could get something done.
What's interesting is I had the same. I think I had a very similar feeling, but I was with other people. Yeah. What's interesting is that you were by yourself and had no mirror for that, right? I couldn't turn to Ian and be like, "Oh fuck, man, I'm so fucking tired," right? Like, yeah, you by yourself, which makes it even more stressful.
I think I just popped back to my tent for a couple of bits, just kind of calm down, reset.
Yeah.
Just
what we
did.
did.
Things.
Yeah,
we did exactly the same thing.
We actually had a little nap at one point, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a few people that I've spoken to who I think this is something like, I think because we do it, I think it's something that is like our minds and bodies are actually giving us. Like, take a minute. If everything's getting too much, go back to your tent and spend half an hour detaching from Empire, right?
Yeah.
Like just switch off. Go and look at Facebook on your phone, or read the news, or get back to the real world just for a minute and give yourself some time, because God, all it took was like 20 minutes, half an hour, and we were right back on there, right? Like, we were good to go again.
I literally just had a little mini kip, I think. I literally just sort of laid down on my little bed thing for like 20 minutes, half an hour, and that's kind of how and it was nice just to sort of take that time to almost just like meditate it out. But it's not easy.
Yeah,
I think
kind of mindfulness, you break down the events that have happened and kind of like...
You feel like you're missing out, though, and that doesn't...
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Empire's short, dude. It's like not... It's such a short amount of time. It's basically 2 days, right? Friday into Sunday. But you don't really have that long, which it makes you feel like you want to like savor every morsel and everything must be active all the time, when really it's impossible to actually do that, I think.
No, entirely.
Sorry, we keep interrupting you, so what are you saying?
No, it's fine. I think, so I had my break, well, quite a few breaks. I probably break throughout the whole of the afternoon, kind of going, right, psych myself up to do this, go out, try and find something, don't quite find it, don't quite build up the courage or something, and which was so weird for me, because I'd say I'm a fairly outgoing person in the real world. But something about Empire just, or again, I think it's the not having the foothold in a completely strange location. It's bizarre.
I'm like known as a confident, chatty person, but there's something weird about going to Empire. I've seen people that are very, very nervous blossom over the course of a weekend to the point where they're like, they have a really great time. And I've also seen very, very confident people. I was talking to a friend of mine. I think I was talking to Tom about this, and the way we described it was almost like, think of like a car with a really powerful engine, but you can't get any traction on your wheels. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how it feels like, maybe being like more confident and being out of your depth at Empire is. You feel like your wheels are just spinning, and it's hard to kind of like know why. And it took me a little while to get my confidence back. Right?
It doesn't help, because you're telling yourself, you're not like this. This is normally easy. Like, what are you doing?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Dude, like when I was trying to, who wants to be my sergeant or whatever at the battle, and I'm screaming internally at myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside, my body's just like gormless expression on my face, no movement whatsoever. But inside, there's this, like, I'm tearing around the room in my mind, throwing tables over, being like, "What the fuck are you doing? Go do the thing!" You know?
Yeah.
Oh, entirely. Yeah. No, I think I still have that to some degree, but the fact is I've got enough game going in general.
Yeah.
I'm much more relaxed.
I don't think about it now.
No.
In fact, now it's more like, I feel like my character is whatever he's doing is acceptable. Wherever he is and whatever he's doing, I'm allowed to be there, and I'm allowed to say whatever I'm saying, right? Like, it's like I feel justified in my actions through my character now, whereas I felt maybe I didn't want to impose, maybe, as well. That was maybe one thing when I first started going, or to be made to look foolish by overstepping yourself as well, which is easily done, I think, if you're not too sure about some of the aspects of the game.
You don't know what the social sort of etiquette is. You don't know what the structure is. And you don't want to be shown to be ignorant in a kind of a way that annoys people, right? You don't want to give offense, and all of that sort of stuff. There's a lot going on, and I think it's not like, say, I don't know, joining a sports team, right, where you have some vague idea of what the rules of the game are before you go or whatever. It's like, because it's a whole world structure with a lore and all of these things that is more than really any one person could know. And even if you know it, you still have to have the confidence to actually actuate that knowledge that you may have. It's very tough, I think, going in. I mean, I still get nervous now. Like, you know, it's kind of a slow thing. I mean, I'm not a naturally confident person.
It's fear of feeling stupid, I think.
Yeah, to a certain extent. You just don't want to mess up in front of everybody, and it's, in a way, it's a sort of a silly thing, because you kind of get the vibe that people aren't really going to point and laugh at you. But I think there is that bit of you that is like back to the being a kid joining the classroom for the first time.
Dude, rejection is a huge part of this, right? It's because you care so much that you're so scared of these people, which are your new peers, rejecting you. It's a perfectly natural response to something that you are passionately want to be involved in, right? Like, I think that's what's interesting now, getting more settled into Navarre. A lot of the people when I first went that I was fairly intimidated by and really looked up to, not that they're actually intimidating people, like, this is from me rather than them, right? But interacting with them, getting to know them, they're just like everybody else, right? There's no one there that's going to be like, and there are arseholes there, right? Like, you might just as much, you know, probably less, but if you bumped into some random person on the street and had a conversation with them, most of the time people are going to be fairly decent people and friendly to you. Ever so often, unfortunately, there are dicks out there, and they may well give you a bad time. But the big worry, like I was saying before at the start, was I think it's really sad when the first people that like are solo LARPers and new to LARP, sometimes you end up bumping into the dick, right? Which is unlucky, but it isn't a reflection on you, right? Like, there are dicks out there. So
I don't think I ever bumped into those people, and I think that's very much helped my experience. I mean, I've definitely bumped into them since, but not within
the only
first
thing I
event.
had, which put me off at the start, I don't think I mentioned it in the first episode, but it was something where I was asking about where we should put our camp, and it was a couple of guys, and they were doing something, and they were very dismissive of me, like very dismissive to the point of rudeness, right? And that was one thing that made me really worried about the rest of the weekend, was that there was I don't know, like a clique where people were like, oh, I don't know you, go away type thing. That was one thing, which turned out to be fairly unfounded. I mean, I'm sure there are people that do that, but that's not the majority, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Go
for it.
No, I think I was blown away on the Thursday night. You know, there's nerves building up. You just start talking to people and you go, these are all so nice.
I think actually, like, cause we when we first went, we went on the Friday. We went quite late on the Friday as well. In fact, we missed out on a few things just because we were so late setting everything up, and just a lot of buggering about, basically. And having gone since on Thursday, I think we all just felt the huge benefit you get from going on Thursday and having that extra day. I think, like, it's certainly a good way to go. I mean, obviously, I can't speak from it as a starting player's perspective, but I think that first time we went on Thursday, Dave, we just it's a real eye opener just how it instantly makes your Friday more relaxing. You get so much more time to sort of ease yourself into it.
I also felt weirdly like less rush over the weekend, right? Like, because I could get a lot of the kind of like just vibe of hanging out, seeing people I wanted to see, and a few other bits and pieces. But I could get a lot of that done without having to worry about it on the Friday as well, like you were saying. But the kind of social aspect and acclimatization for being there was, totally Thursday for the win.
Yeah.
I've never not gone on a Thursday, so I don't know what it's like, but I know that Thursday is lovely.
Yeah.
I think, can you imagine being one of those people that rocks up there at like 4:00 on the Friday? I mean, like, how stressful must that be? I mean, I can imagine there's all sorts of people that have to, especially people, childcare seems to come up a lot when I talk to people about going on the Thursday. That seems to be a big thing. Like, for people that don't have kids, it's a lot easier just to be like, oh, I'm going to go after work on Thursday evening and I'll just take the Friday off,
I even go earlier than that, turn up about lunchtime and just take the whole Thursday, Friday off. Lovely.
Yeah, that's winning. That's winning right there.
Yeah, I think like that's the way I'm going to go in the future. Just try and have as much of the sort of Thursday and the and the Friday to chill out with as possible, really. And I just think it just leads to a much more relaxed way to move into the actual time in.
All right, let's move on. Right, Sol, where are you in your story at this stage? I'm losing track, man.
Think post battle. It's the post battle blues, and
Yes.
they went on for
Yeah.
quite a while. And I think at that point I was definitely questioning my enjoyment. And this is not just me. But I'll probably get to that in a little bit later. But it all picked up again, and I think this is where it hit. Skirmishes in the evening. I'd heard about them at Standing. I was like, okay, I've fought as an orc, as Orky Boy number 3, but now I get to be Farron. Who is Farron? We don't even know yet. I bought my sword, my freshly bought sword. Someone lent me another one, thankfully, to make use of my ambidextrous points. And I went out on a skirmish. I think it was a fairly big one, the first one I went on. I don't remember it much. You'd think I'd remember my first. No, I do. I do remember. It was a big beastie boy, like a 7 foot tall Umber Hulk, and all of like the Valorn. It was terrifying as
Run away!
shit.
Run away!
Oh my god! It was the worst thing. It was amazing, but I was so fearful. We were having to like.
He ran away. He lived to fight on our.
Not quite that bad. But
That's us. That time, just when we all ran away that time. Oh my god, that shit's still so
I
funny.
think we were defending a ritual site for like 25 minutes. I wasn't ready for this. There were these people that were just like zombies trying to come at me. I was like, ah! And then they got up again. I have no idea what's going on here. And then you had these what are they? The bug people. I can't remember their names now.
Etacamps? Is that the one?
The Etacaps. They're coming out of there and just hitting you. And then we had the bigger bug boys who just shatter. It was terrifying. Fortunately, the kind of the group that I'd made an in with were known to be very good fighters and were the reason why they were put on this skirmish. So I just kind of held with them. And
had you built up a rapport with them? Like, did you feel like you were fighting with them, or did you feel like you were...
I was with them entirely.
Yes. Yes, I think that's a really interesting like emotional trigger, right? When you realize like it's a team game that we're doing, and we're fighting the enemy and we're looking after each other. It's fucking cool, right? That's how you build bonds pretty fast.
You were covering their back, and they were covering yours, and you could kind of feel that. It was an unspoken thing. But yeah, my god. And then this 7 foot tall Umber Hulk thing came out of the bushes and just broke through the lines, and we had to start hitting it. And oh my god, I chills the whole time. I was shaking. But we got off that, and the adrenaline rush was incredible.
Yeah.
Nothing I think has compared to my first 2 skirmishes.
There are fewer greater pleasures in life than going off a dangerous but very successful skirmish and then going out drinking on Saturday night.
What about a dangerous and very unsuccessful skirmish, which is the second one?
Well, I don't like drinking on a loss. Like, I don't like a loss anyway. But
But survival is its own win, right?
It's funny that
to be fair, we had a blast when we ran away. To be fair, we did find that amazing.
It's funny that you called it a loss, because myself and the others on the skirmish still agree that this one thing is our favourite moment at LARP ever. All of us, flat out. We have never had a moment like my second skirmish, and this was really interesting. So
yeah, by the way, I'm gonna disagree with myself 10 seconds ago, but yeah, it's not important that you went on not to have enjoyment of it. That's not true, and that's not how I view it, because I've been on so many shit fests and come out with big smile on my faces. Like when Dave had to do that giant run past all those people and just made it in time. Like, we got our asses handed to us on that skirmish, but great memories, right?
So
yeah, maybe losses are more memorable than victories.
Tell us of your skirmish.
Ponder that one.
We came back off this first one. 25 minutes, long haul against the Valorn. I was knackered. Okay, this is the first time I've been wearing... I mean, I only have a gambeson, but I had quite a few layers under that that I shouldn't have been wearing, that I've learned very much in the future to remove. I was.
So you were like, was your face bright
I was,
red?
yeah, bright red. It was a hot weekend.
Also, it's a lot of adrenaline, right? The adrenaline alone will
jeez.
destroy you.
But yeah, so I'd come off that. I just made it back to camp. I'd slowly started to take off some of my arms, and it turns out that there was another one not too long, like about an hour. So we'd been resting up at camp. It was a small one. It was like 14, I think. Anyway, I was just sitting back at camp. I wasn't expecting to go on it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to tap out. I thought I'd come to the cycle of me going back to my tent again and kind of just resting, processing what the hell just happened, right? I should actually preface this. I did go to the Scouts meeting, which was interesting because there was a lot of plot to do with that at the weekend. I don't need to go into details with it, but it was a lot to do with who had been put as the leader, and they were part of our group.
Okay.
I'm already saying our group.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. One kind of battle, and they've got your backs. That's what really sets you in with your loyalties. But yeah, so they were part of our group. They didn't end up going on this skirmish, but most of us did. There was 14 of us. 3 were scouts. Okay, the rest were my group, and interestingly, there was a couple of spots that they hadn't managed to field yet. I wasn't expecting to go on it, but someone just went, "Hey, you," and pointed over at me. I was sitting by the fire, like, I know. Do you want to come on this one? And I went, and it was just kind of starting to rain a little bit, and I was like, I'm really tired, but I was like, what did they say? What did they say in the intro? Always say yes. So I went, yeah, all right, I'll join. Borrowed the sword again. Kind of not. I knew a little bit more what to expect here. I was, a little bit more pumped for this, but there was a lot fewer of us. We got to the Sentinel Gate. The War Scout came out and informed our leader. I think we'll call him by his name. He's called Pieface. That's not his actual name, but it's what we ended up calling him, and he was the major point of this plot moment, I'd say, because he was leading this, right?
Right.
So he comes over. He's my friend now. He's an excellent guy. He always plays the same characters though, but we love him. He's always very he has a huge bravado to him, and always likes to overdo things. But he came over and he was like, right, so we're going to, and we all know what this is like now, we're going to the Black Plateau.
14 of you are going to the Black Plateau. 7 of you ain't coming back.
There is a researcher who has gone mad and has lost themselves behind enemy lines.
Well, leave them there.
We've got to get in there, get the research notes, and get the researcher out. In, out, quick job. I was like, okay. This sounds fine. This is against orcs. None of these bugs trying to rip my shit up.
So you do know why there was a space and no one would go now, right? Like,
yeah, I post it. I do. But yeah, so right, we got there. We have our leader of our group, but oh no, we don't. We have this guy. He's our sub leader in this one. Okay, so we're ready. He's just packed his crossbow, his freshly bought crossbow. He doesn't use it often. He only has 2 bolts. What could go wrong? We had a couple of scouts with us borrowed, who were along for the ride. That's fine. Although there was a little bit of tension with the fact that our group was a leader. Okay, They open the portal. We're ready to go through. That's when we are stopped by a ref and passed these pieces of paper that inform us that we have been cursed. This is, interestingly, this was not the first Black Plateau curse, but it was the first of the kind that we had that weekend. So it was the first one that was accentuated to the point where your emotions are heightened, so much so that anything negative you will respond erratically, and it was with force, wasn't it? It was
It's also that you get anything that irritates you, you want to be aggressive towards, but you get like a weird feedback loop.
Correct.
Of being like you feel good about being a dick about it. Basically, that's probably not how it's written in the wiki, but
you can execute your fellows for extra hero points. Was the big one.
What?
Yes, I've had this before as well.
Yeah. So we just get past this piece of paper.
Do you know who that is right there? That's fucking Andy Rapp fucking people right there. Do you know what I mean? What a monster of a human being.
This is my first weekend. I'm reading this shit and going, I'm cursed. Execute my new friends. I've just built up a rapport with these people, and now I want to be angry with them.
As a solo player as well, like what a fucking nightmare. Like, do you just execute all your new friends? Like, Jesus.
Right. So obviously I was going to play it a little bit lighter. But at that moment, the pathetic fallacy, the rain opened, and it was like a bucket. It just drenched us all for the whole of this skirmish. I say the whole. It took about 7 minutes before everything had degraded. Right.
Yeah.
So we go out. Okay. The rain has opened up. Heaviest rain I think I've ever seen at Empire. And that's with E2 last year as well. Or E1 last year. I can't remember which one it was. So yeah, we go in, we're all angry, we're already swearing at each other before we've even got into the forest.
It's not a good
It's not a good start. What happens? We start patrolling out. Someone sees something off in the bushes, people just dive. Okay, so there's only 14 of us, and I don't even know how many orcs are there because I'm just up one alley. They've just dived into the forest. There's someone over here. We see the person we're supposed to get, the researcher. There's a couple of Druge kind of holding her with swords ready to kill her. We start seeing them come out of the bushes, firing arrows at us. I get hit in the arm. And because I'm wearing light armor, I immediately lose that arm. First time this has happened.
Your arm goes Ace Ventura in the second one, where you're like waving it around and it's dead.
Yeah. First time this has happened. I'm hearing shouts and screams going off. Our leader has completely lost it. He was, he's ready, and then suddenly we all just start swearing at him for fucking this shit up. He's gone wrong. He fires the first bolt of his crossbow at the guy, at the Druge who's got the hostage with them.
Yeah.
His crossbow misfires, and it breaks, so he can't even use it. All he'd brought along with him was another dagger. So he just has to hold that, just run in and do as best he can. With the scouts have gone up front because that's why we got them. Got completely cut off, hit. I still had my limp arm. I had to try and find the healer. The healer was getting me, but we could see some more of the archers coming around the side from the bushes. It was shouting, screaming from the downed scouts and our friends. I finally got to the healer. He started healing my arm, and I just kept swearing at him for not healing me fast enough. We got into a really big argument after that, to the point where we started attacking each other mid fight. We then realized this is not going well. We lost the researcher. The research papers were useless, and we just run. Okay, we just have to get out of there. Time's up. We gotta get out of here. So we get off. Okay, we realize we've lost the 2 scouts that we'd hired, and we had problems with we had tensions with the scouts all this weekend, so that didn't help our friend. But yeah, so we got off, and then it was this great moment where we were walking up to the gate, loving this. We'd just come off the highway, a little bit of an OC break in between getting back to the gate, going, wow, that was nuts. So and we were all looking at each other like, we know what's going to happen here, like when we get what we're doing when we get out the gate. And we were counting down, 3, 2, and then we passed through the gate, immediately start shouting, attacking our leader. People at the you know how people are at the hospital and things around there. They're lovely people. They start seeing us attacking. What the hell's going on? Militia! And we're just all getting up in people's grills. I'm having a go at the healer. We're all having a go at our leader, who, Mr. Failed Crossbow Pie Face. It's just going insane. We then start splitting off down all the different alleyways in Highguard and just start attacking each other, having duels up the streets, making our way back to camp. They're going, some went down there, and some people get caught. Some of us just keep on going, keep on attacking each other, and we finally make it back to camp. Someone is bleeding out at this point. Who knows what's going on? We heal them up, and so forth. It continues. We were all a little bit tired, but we were all still affected by the curse. And we were like, that's the coolest thing. That was amazing. We've never had so much fun. But it didn't stop there. We were trying to learn how to fix this. No, I know. We got rounded up and put in a tent in Highguard, told we can't leave for 15 minutes, right? And we're all sitting there going, why can't we leave for 15 minutes? We're riled up, both in character and kind of out of character at that point, going, God. So we're giving them all the grief. But finally the militiaman was kind enough to let us go when after the 15 minutes passed, it didn't work. We were very angry.
What?
Yeah.
So they were trying to do some sort of
this was
spell thing
ritual.
on you or whatever.
Yeah,
Ritual.
because it worked before, but it didn't anymore because we were kind of the guinea pigs of this.
So they were like, man, fuck it, we'll just send them back out into the general population then.
No, they didn't. No, we ran.
Oh.
But so yeah, the evening continues on. We're all still affected by this. We have no idea, and I think we finally learnt that it was something of crystal clarity. Can't remember. It was a ritual that cost like 4 mana crystals or something.
Yeah.
But none of us could be bothered to get that done because apparently it just resets after sunset. You'll just get it back immediately. So we were like, none of us are going to get that done. Okay. So we went back to camp. This is when we started scheming again. And you can see that now I'd fully fallen into this group just because this one roleplay moment and this one skirmish. Everyone that was on that, I think we had a couple who weren't in our group. But you instantly had that rapport with them because we've just had the most insane moment at LARP. And I think that's kind of what made it.
Empire has these really great bonding. It gives you opportunity for bonding, right? It doesn't always happen necessarily, but it gives you opportunity for it. Like the whole like Songs of Stories, obviously we bang on about it, but there's loads of stuff like that, like Dawn with their the trials.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of those trials are about interacting with other people or getting something done, right? So that kind of forces people to kind of actually engage with other people and do all of that, right? So yeah, it's kind of interesting that how quick it is as a thing is to draw a bond of complete strangers. And you didn't know these people from Adam, right? Like on the Thursday.
Yeah, I knew of them, and I'd kind of had a few drinks with them, but we were acquaintances for sure. I'd say. But yeah, funny you mentioned Songs of Story because that's when our next scheme happened. We did a little bit of OC, kind of like, how do we want to do this? And we were like, I know what. Why don't you, the leader, and one other guy start walking into camp? And we were like, okay. So, and we'll wait over here, ready as like an ambush. Right, so we'd got this thing set up. He walked in. The leader walked in with one other guy, who immediately turned on him right next to Songs and Story while it was going on. And you do not interrupt Songs and Story.
You do not interrupt Songs and Stories.
I didn't know this at the time, so this was fun. But yeah, so he turned on him immediately, attacked him. We all just ran on in there, knives out, ready to get a piece of our failed leader. And the Songs and Story just instantly stopped. They were going, whoa, what's going on? We had everyone rush on over, start breaking up the fight that was going on. And the two that started it, the leader and the other guy, they got their legs cleaved because they were just going at each other. Militia turned up. They were all holding them back. A few of us, they were like, get everyone. A few of us kind of backed off slightly because we realised we were going to get into some deep trouble, but we were still just throwing abuse at them. And LARP allows you to be so angry without consequences, which I think is a very good thing. It allows you to just get it all out there and just, it's so good. I didn't even know these people, which was even funnier because just yelling really bad things at them for something that had happened.
Why would anyone want to be a militia person? I mean, you do get
You
to
sign yourself up for it, really, don't you?
Yeah, I like every militia person I've known has kind of had this fatalistic sense of humor about their own experiences.
gallows humor
like,
kind of thing,
I'm a cop. Do you remember that guy who he came and asked us questions, and he was actually a police officer? Like he was. Do you remember that guy, Ian?
Yeah.
And it was just like, hold on, you're a real cop in the real world, but you come to Empire to be a police officer. Like, dude, like, maybe he's living his best life as a police officer, and that's all he ever wants to do.
Yeah,
Like,
you get to
maybe
be like, because you can do the things as a militia person, can't you, that maybe you couldn't do, because you can be that kind of badass cop, and you can give all
No, dude, he was a classic, extremely professional British Bobby.
Yeah.
When we interacted with him, like, I'm sure maybe he's a terrible bent cop, and he comes to Empire to roleplay what it's like to be a nice guy cop. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I wonder what happens if I don't break all their fingers and take the money for myself. Who knows?
It's interesting you say it, because I'm still playing my first character. I'm still playing the character that experienced.
Oh, shut!
this.
Look at you, you bloody
Right.
first character lot. Come on,
Ian,
live a
it's
little.
China. Imagine
What?
dying. Imagine
I
dying.
know.
Imagine being so bad at combat. that
right? Just charging into stupid places and getting yourself killed.
I was
You know
there.
the worst thing about that was my fucking funeral, when everyone was just like, well, he was a bit reckless, wasn't he? And everyone's like, yeah, he was a crazy son of a bitch. That guy had a death following him for
I
months
was
at this
there.
stage.
I was next to you as you went down, and I had to fight my way.
That's
back
what I
through
mean.
the
So
line.
how reckless am I? Hold on. How? Yeah, because
No, it's just you know.
it was
get good.
unlucky. I was unlucky. I was
Get good.
Yeah. Soul's here. Farron's still alive. What happened?
I went straight to Talus and informed him that you'd gone down.
I knew it had gone bad, because you kind of look for people at the end of the battle, and people are kind of walking up to you and you're kind of asking them, and they're kind of giving you little shakes. Oh, I don't know. And
Hold on.
And it
I
just
thought
got-
you said that you could see me from where you were.
Yeah, I saw you go down, but I didn't see you die. That's the thing, right?
No, no, no.
So you could see me dying,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you didn't come and get me.
Oh well, there was no way.
I
to
couldn't
contact
help you.
There was
couldn't
There's
no-
some
help you.
unresolved shit. This isn't the podcast for it. This isn't the podcast for it. There is some unresolved shit going on here. So let's move on. It's about solo players.
So,
not
yeah,
about. It's not the
to
treacherous
finish up
podcast
the-
where we
Finish up
turn
the
on our
evening.
friends.
Okay, finish up the story. I watched these new acquaintances of mine get dragged off to the militia, and I hate them, right? So we get told, leave, disperse, okay? Get out of here, or we'll get dragged there. But we just follow them, okay? And we are standing just outside the militia. It's dark by this time, okay? And we get to the militia's tent, and we find them on the floor, no limbs, with about 5 people on top of each of them as they're trying to claw for each other. One of the orcs comes over, acting all threatening against us three. This is the first interaction I've had with an Imperial orc. I heard the stories about heading to their camp. I wasn't going to risk it. But yeah, so he came up being all brash or whatever, going, leave them to it. We don't need your stuff here, and we're just still yelling at them, and they're going, oi! And every time he kind of turns around to see the location, we take a step forward and get closer and closer, our dagger right by our side, ready to take a strike at the leader. And it was just the best moment. It calmed down after that. They performed the ritual on them, got them calm, and then we hadn't had it, but we suddenly realised, hang on, isn't the Imperial Army supposed to be going to the exact location we've just been? 500 people. We saw how bad the 14 people with this curse was. What about the 500 people? So we were like, shit, we got to tell someone. So I spent the evening. I didn't drink that evening because I spent the whole time on my feet trying to find the generals to inform them. And talking to the generals, I think at the time I didn't really make the connection that these were high up people, and I think it was kind of a bell curve with that. I think second event, once you kind of know who they are, you're like, oh shit, I spoke to a general, mad. Now it's kind of like, oh, I'm talking to a general, awesome. let's get some stuff done. I've got agendas here,
Yeah.
and that's the big difference. But yeah, so I spent the whole thing until timeout, just traipsing after generals, informing them. Next morning, I got the ritual cast on me, so I was clear on the battlefield. Had my first battle. It's pretty insane, but again, it's the same vibe. Our leader didn't come back from that battle.
Accidents happen all the time.
For one reason
Battles
or
are very
another.
dangerous places. So, do you know what I mean? They're
Battlefield
very
is a very
dangerous
dangerous
places.
place. Yeah.
A lot of
exactly,
things. A lot of
exactly.
A lot of dead weight gets cut.
Fortunately, this
in
was
battles.
This
so.
was nothing to do with Farron's crime spree. He didn't start that young. But yeah, so had that second battle, and then after that we were all shattered. But it just continued. Because again, we hadn't been cleared. We still had the madness on us, the mad curse. There were strikes out at the standing on the Sunday, and it just kept going.
Oh, was that the
kept
day when
going.
then someone tried to attack?
Yeah, so that's my friend.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, tried to attack, and there was multiple attacks, but yeah, it was all within. I got stabbed by them, and it was all over the place. But yeah, it finally kind of wound down as people got slightly tired of it.
So, is that group that you're talking about now? Are you part of that group now? Like,
yeah.
a year and a half later.
So Farron's still part of that group, even if the other people who were there aren't with us anymore.
This is just an observation, but like listening to both you and Phil, what's interesting is that I think you came in both with the right attitudes on how to approach it. You were both really fucking hype, right?
Yeah.
You both came into it with a lot of passion about what you're about to do. I think both of you are potentially quite nervous. I haven't spoken to Phil with details about this, but the output of this is incredible, right? Like both you and Phil. Like, didn't Phil end up? He's ended up in a position of given a sword.
Phil is
he's
mad.
just like
Phil was mad. So he was my lift that weekend. So it was E1 last year. It was his first event, so he was my lift. We had a big conversation on the way, and in fact, I went with one of my other friends. That time, it was his first time, and I'll get to why that's kind of a talking point in a second. But so I was with Phil, having a chat with him. He had done exactly the same as me, been hyped for it for quite a while, had done a lot of prep. And I think prep is, honestly, it's a really good thing as a solo LARPer, is to read, get hyped about, and at least have a good foothold. I'd really say, I mean, you probably could just dive in, but I'd say it's a lot, even harder than the way that some of us have found it. He'd also, however, contacted another new player, who we met at the event. They'd contacted each other, got to know each other there, and then joined the same group. And both of them, honestly, have been excellent LARPers. I think it's Josh. But
I think both, like I was saying, both of you have, and I think it's really interesting to watch these kind of like clear success stories. The one thing I was thinking about was, I think very quickly, both you and Phil actually knew more about the game because of your prep work and were being more involved in it than I was. And that was at least a couple of seasons events in. And I think that comes down to, it comes down to both of your personalities, but also the fact is that you weren't with anyone, so you had to kind of like go and manifest this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you went out there and absolutely like took control of it, basically. Like you came with a good attitude that was respected by the players that you bumped into, and then you just got shit done and settled right in and started playing the game. It's so admirable. It's so impressive.
I think you have a different mindset. The fact is instead of going for a fun weekend with friends, you're going for you want to LARP, and that is the mindset that you're going in with. It was the same with me playing Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't have a group. I set up a group. I asked to find a DM, and I went in with the purpose of, I'm going to learn the rules, I'm going to try and get a game up and running. I'm very much the proactive person in that sense. So when it came to LARP, I wasn't going to LARP. I was going to LARP to have a good weekend, but I was going to LARP. I wasn't going for a fun weekend. with a big group.
with the lads, right? You go in there to
Yeah.
to LARP, right?
And-
I get that. What you mean by that? Yeah.
And when I went with Phil and my other friend, it was his first time, but I did warn him, and he's a less outgoing person. He's fairly good. He's a theatre kind of guy, but I went. He was playing Dawn. Stupid boy. Shouldn't have played Dawn.
We all make mistakes, but yeah.
There's no accounting for taste.
No. This is
Honestly, if we keep doing this,
People
people will
are gonna
actually
think we actually
think
are
that.
legit about it.
Yeah, and it's like it's definitely not Dawn the one I hate. The one I hate is
insert nation here.
I don't know whether I'll blank that in post or not, but
anyway, so I was like, okay, I know you're coming with me, but I'm gonna have a very busy weekend, and I don't think I can be holding your hand the whole time, because otherwise it will affect my game. And I made that very clear before we went to the event, that while we'll see each other in the evening when we get back to the tent, I won't see you on the field. I'll be there to help, obviously. If I bump into you, I'll have a chat, but at the same time, I didn't want to ruin my weekend by worrying about him.
Also, there's something to be said about like going your own path and that stuff. Also, you're different nations, which makes it very difficult, right? Like, because I had the same thing, because we saw Phil earlier on in the weekend, then we were, oh yeah, if you need anything, we were chatting to him, come say hi. When we saw him next, he was literally like, I remember he was like, it was somewhere in a public area, or we were walking on our way to a skirmish, and I saw Phil, and he was like, "Oh, good to see you. Sorry, I haven't been by to see you more. I've had lots on. I've got to go now. Bye." And he was off, right? Because he's in it. He's doing it, right? He doesn't need.
That's the exact same
need anyone else.
With
he's already busy,
Yeah. Oh, he was busy
amazing.
from the get-go. I can't remember when I bumped into him, but he was straight into it. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I think going back to the post I made, some of the really, like, obviously Claire Evans and her team of the new player team are there for you, whether you're going as part of a group or whether you're a solo LARPer, right? So going to these events, like, I think we just started chatting to people, like we made a couple of friends just by being chatty in the new player meetings, right?
That's
we chatted to
true,
people next to us, right? And then you build a contact. I bet if you went to the that we missed going to the battle practice thing, didn't we? But that's a really good way to meet new people.
Yeah.
It also will allow you to spot other new people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So when you're in a crowd of people and you're not really sure what's going on, a little nod to a person that is in a similar situation to you can actually be very helpful as a point of reference,
And I definitely did that throughout the weekend. There are definitely times where I saw those new people, and they were doing completely separate, other things. I think they actually used what Empire provide for you. They was talking to the egregores, getting jobs to do. I think I had too much of an ego in the way, and I was like, no, I know what I want to do, and I think that didn't help things. But it was just fortunate that the chain of events that took place led to what is honestly one of the best LARP moments I've ever had, and got me hooked. So I think I was fortunate, but from the sounds of it, a lot of my other friend, he had a really bad first weekend. Again, he really good Friday night, fairly good Saturday morning, and then it kind of dulled off for him, which is kind of the inverse of what mine was like. He still came to another event. He was a little bit downhearted after the first one, but he still came to that other event, and now he loves it. He's part of a full house. Yeah, loving it in Dawn. Really, really having a good time, and he's got a good group. So it is just getting past that first hump and finding the people you want to be with.
It can take time, right? And
definitely
dealing with those energy drops, and you are going to have adrenaline dumps. You're going to have moments of uncertainty, and it's just being aware that may well happen, and that you can ride it out, and there are mechanisms and social constructs in place to help you go and engage with the game and take part in.
I think what we're actually talking about, like you just said there, Ian, is the hump. There is a hump. It might be a tiny little thing for some people. It might be bigger for other people. It might take some people longer to get over. It might not even exist for other people, right? But there might be this hump that you need to get over. you will get over it. There are some stuff that you may feel alone and isolated on because you don't have a point of reference. If you're listening to this podcast, I really hope that you're getting the general impression that it doesn't matter whether you're an uber confident person or quite a shy person. There are some universal things like fatigue, adrenaline dumping, feeling out of sorts generally by a few bits and pieces. These are all very natural things that you don't need to be, don't be aware of them, but everybody goes through them, right? So, but I think the key here is like going out there, trying to get involved in the game, and not being too hard on yourself if it doesn't happen too quickly, right?
Yeah. And also being aware. I think with a lot of people approach it LARP coming in from a gaming angle, and in games there's this idea of achieving some degree of success or winning or doing something well. And just being aware that actually failure and sort of having things not go optimally can actually often lead to a lot more game and a lot more fun, right, than what from the outside in your mind
entirely.
Seems like like the optimum sort of solution, right? If everything goes spiffingly and you have no challenge posed against you, that if you got what you wanted straight away, that has its reward, right? It has some kind of thing, but there is a lot more to be gained from having kind of things pitted against you, and just being aware that that's all part of it, right? That I think also people can get disheartened of this by the scale of things. You have these very large power bases, and it seems impossible and insurmountable as a small group or a solo player on your own. How will you ever contend with the ambition that you have when faced by the scale of the sort of infrastructure that you're up against? If you're running for an office position or whatever it is, right? You're trying to enact some change, and it seems that you can't do it with your sort of very small pool of resources. And just to be aware that that's baked into the cake, and that's something that actually in itself can give you a lot of game, right? Those are real world frustrations that you can find in your everyday life that exist in Empire, but in Empire you can explore them in very interesting ways, right? That kicking over the table and having the systems is something that you can do, or you can look at building up your own power base. And these things don't necessarily happen quickly, but the speed at which success or failure is achieved isn't always a measure of the enjoyment of that success or failure.
Also, you don't know whether you're making progress through your failures. Now, that sounds a bit counterproductive because you might not achieve the thing that you were thinking about doing, but you might be making future plans significantly more easy by trying and failing. Like, this is coming off someone that has successfully failed to get elected twice, right? But I am definitely a significantly more powerful political force and much more connected now than I was.
But also, taking that further with your experiences, Dave, like you're playing as someone whose character has died. Now, is that death a failure in some way of you as a player, or is it an enriching experience that
No, it just wasn't. I wasn't wearing heavy armor on my legs. That's the only real lesson to take away from that.
But essentially, like Ifan dying. The implications that's had on the group, on you as a person, these are big things in a sense that that can happen from what you could from the outside say, okay, your character's died, that's a failure, that's a loss, right? And it is in the broadest description, but it's also moments of RP that you could only possibly achieve through going through that experience.
It's like it's mushroom clouded after his death, the character of Ifan, right? So, like, the game has definitely been affected, at least on a microcosm of our friendship group, right?
Yeah.
Even just on that level. But, like, his story now gets told at Strongs and Storytime. Like, he's part of the canon and the lore now. Like, yeah, so... Like, if you said to me, like, magic wand, you can have Ifan back and everything gets undone, like, I would be very tempted to wave that wand. But he's gone now. It's fine.
And I think that's that element in any story where, a character dies, and obviously you'd always like to sort of have that thing where you could kind of maybe see the what-ifs and stuff. But then
Dude, imagine how empty the game would be if you just went through it and everything went your way.
Yeah.
like you'd be bored after the weekend. It's like playing a computer game on easy mode, right? Like there would be no joy of any of it. Like, so I'm sure you feel an immense sense of satisfaction in having gone there on your own and now where you are now, right? And if you don't, I think you should do, right?
I think it has led to many great moments, and I think so. Interestingly, we've just mentioned Ifan. He has had an impact on kind of Farron's game. Suddenly, we had the shenanigans that I like to
have shenanigans, yeah.
Retell the tale of that. And there were a lot of times where I'd like to go to talk to Farron about, talk to Ifan about, battles and stuff, and just get pumped up for it. It was just good stuff. I'm not gonna lie, but the fact he's not there anymore. Okay, cool. That has affected Farron in a way, and I kind of used that. But the fact that we've had those interactions, I'm part of a different group, and yes, you went to Farron and you offered a place. Now the fact is.
Oh,
I turned it.
Let's not talk
I did
about
turn it down.
Let's
okay?
not talk about it.
I did turn it down, but that was not because I didn't want to join your group. But it's because, as a solo LARPer,
dear listeners, I just want to say that Sol is the person that I actually went to the group and I went, listen, we all like Sol, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about opening the idea, and we can do this at IC, but opening up the idea of maybe inviting Sol to be an Ashbourne.
Yeah.
Right?
I really appreciated it.
So there I was,
I really appreciated
14-year-old me asking out my crush. There I was, kicking a bit of dirt on the floor, trying not to make too much eye contact. Like, yeah, Sol, so it's been really fun, like, hanging out and stuff. It's just, I feel like me and the lads, we all, we get on well and stuff. It's just, I was just wondering if you're not up to, if you got your own thing going on, it's cool. But if you wanted to, you could maybe, you could maybe be an Ashbourne. And you were like, nah, I've already got a group. Cheers, though.
I didn't say that, okay?
And then my heart just like dropped straight through into my shoes.
If it makes you feel any
it
better,
like it's just been ripped out of my chest, and I was just.
If it makes you feel any better, I was stridingless until E3 last year. So I'd done a year of LARPing in Navarre with this character, and I hadn't joined a striding. So although I hanged out with Black Scar, I hadn't joined it in any shape or form. No, I joined. I think I joined the big group, but I hadn't joined any striding. So I was still very much stridingless, very much groupless. And I think this is one benefit as a solo LARPer. I didn't go in as a group. I am not tied to a group. I can flow. And the fact is, you offered me a place. A number within my group also offered me a place. And suddenly I have that tough decision of what group to join. But the fact is as a solo LARPer, I can flow. If another character comes along, or if suddenly I'm not digging the play style of this group at the minute, I can always move.
And this is something that I think is interesting. What's interesting now is, like, I would feel way more comfortable. Like, I don't think anyone in our group, like, if my character died and then I went, guys, next time I'm gonna come back as Dawn, right? Not that would ever happen, obviously. But say if I did say I was gonna go and join Dawn, I don't think anyone in our group would take it personally. I think that's one thing that's maybe something like that maybe you think about, like with I think maybe the first few sessions, if I just decided to go off, it might have been a little rude, but right now I feel like if Ian finally gets shanked in some way, you know what I mean, he finally
that would never happen. Nobody would do
his
that.
little tricks finally end and some Druge corners him, or someone sees through his intricate web of lies and actually have to bring him down finally, then I get the feel like he could be off to Eurozen or any stuff. Like it's interesting now where you would effectively get that new solo LARP experience, but now having been to the event like a load, I wouldn't be worried about it at all. Like now, right? Like, and I'm talking about not knowing anyone in a nation. In fact, I think some of the appeal for me now might be going to a nation where I didn't know anyone.
I was going to raise this actually. I think another potential benefit is that ultimately when you're going with your friends and you're going with an element of history and that sort of interpersonal social history that you all share, that is part of being in a friendship group. That and I think there are these kind of roles that we can all start to feel like we're kind of set into a bit within our friendship groups, and that you may
our
in some
friends
way
define us.
Yeah.
Our friends define us sometimes, like that for positive and negative. Like sometimes maybe being on your own might be exactly what you need to really like. Remember when Lloyd first came along and we were all a little awkward about RPing around him, right? Like, because sometimes it's more freeing to be on your own. Like you get the feeling that nothing, like you are like that. Like it depends on the situation, right? But I can definitely see the appeal in solo LARPing now, right? Like after the effect. Unfortunately, the solo LARP is just probably absolutely shitting bricks before they go and doesn't see it as a wonderful opportunity, you know.
But are we a solo LARPer now? That's the question. Because I don't think
like
I am.
I said, I would choose now to. Like if I was going to go for another nation, the nation that I really like, I keep bringing it up, would maybe be the Brass Coast. And I don't know anyone in the Brass Coast apart from like passing niceties with the people that did the Coctopus play. I really like them, but I don't know them that well. I've never shared a beer with them. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never been inside their tent. I don't know them at all, right? OC, I sent a few messages back in the day, but like I wouldn't know anyone there, you know, like so it might be quite interesting. Or Varushka. Like, I don't know any Varushkans, really.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, a lot of I don't know anyone, literally no one from the league. And Wintermark is just a giant blob of people that I've never met.
I think, I think it just lends all these different opportunities to try different things. And to be honest with you, you could just come back in the same nation, I mean, or even in the same group as you have, and try something new as well. But I think there is that whole element of, you know, you bringing your own sort of, if you're going as a group, there is an aspect of, you know, there is a history that you're potentially bringing, and maybe that will in some way define the sort of freedom and the rope you give yourself to go and explore the experience of LARP that maybe a solo player doesn't have to worry about as much.
Obviously, these are all musings, and it's going to be like, I'm sure some of what we've said will resonate with some people and some of it won't. I think it depends on your personality and how you approach it. Really.
And your experiences, right? The experiences you have will define how you react.
You're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice, right? Like when you're first coming up there and you're interacting with people, but you don't know what the odds on the dice are, right? It might be a 2+. That's all you need to get to really have a good time, and you just got unlucky in having a bad experience, you know? Yeah.
I guess another thing is going as a group, there is the advantage of obviously you can pool resources OC and plan things out OC more. Is when you were kind of going as a solo LARPer from the start, I mean, we did a lot of stuff on a very tight budget when we first went, but I imagine going as a solo player, like just affording everything and putting everything together.
Just didn't think about it at all. And in fact, I still don't to some degree. I think, interestingly, the first event that I ever had was my most expensive event, more because of you know, the fact we had the curse, and I did spend the 4 mana, which I didn't know how expensive that was. Coming in as a fresh, you know, with just your business, that pretty much blew it. So I really didn't have a lot after that.
Sorry, I meant like in terms of actual like kit and like actually buying.
Oh, I suppose,
yeah. Like the sort of challenges that you're sort of faced with in
like
what you can physically bring, for example. Like I guess you have to pack light to a certain extent, especially if you're getting
So the fact is I've never worried. I'm not someone who has come with limited travel space. I've always had a lift. With a big enough car to fit my stuff in.
Okay.
So I've never had that limitation, and I could not think about trying to. I mean, as I said last time, I have a chest. So this is my little OC tip for you all. You maybe sleep in OC and you don't have a tent. That's fine. Many solo LARPers are doing that, because why invest on just a tent for just yourself, right? Well, I found a wooden chest. Okay, it's sitting next to me. It's quite large, but it fits all of my in-character kit in it that I'm not wearing. Okay, so what I do is at the start of the event, I take my chest, I put it in my in-character camp, the group that I've kind of been chilling with. I ask, can I put it there? Put it back behind a tree. Therefore, I never go back to my out-of-character tent the whole weekend other than to sleep. That is it. So I'm always in character, and it's really helped me.
It's a really good idea, isn't it? Like, that is just the exactly. I think that should be a top tip for anyone in that sort of situation, is to have this.
If you don't,
like
if you don't have a chest,
box. If you don't even need to go and like break your immersion in any way by going to an outside camp area, right? Like, I think it's fantastic.
I don't at all.
Idea.
And if you don't have, if you don't want a chest for yourself, before that, I was using my camp's chests or tents. You just ask people. Ask if you can keep your cloak in here for later in the evening. It just saves the hassle of breaking your immersion, as you said, walking back to your tent. And to be fair, the effort.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of walking around. You'll be amazed how many miles you do just about.
Dude, I went for a walk today, and I was thinking about this. Like, one of the best things to do, like, even if your fitness levels aren't that well, walking is a really good way. Like, because that is the primary thing that really kills your energy, right? Just the sheer miles you travel. Like, some of the numbers that I've heard are ludicrous for some senators. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing like 20-mile weekends or whatever, or more, just walking around Anvil. That's crazy.
My feet know it at the end.
Yeah, and I think investing in good footwear actually is not a bad idea. I always went a bit cheap on footwear and stuff. But yeah, a good pair of boots is
well, now we've got our boots here. Yeah, now we're both ready to go.
Super excited to whip those bad boys out.
I need to get some new ones, actually. I've gone through them in the year of LARPing.
Wow.
I remember, bearing in mind, these were my scout boots before, so they've lasted years.
Right.
They've seen a lot of service, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think we should call it there, guys.
Yeah,
basically.
I think that's a good point.
We're getting to the point where we could potentially do another hour of just us talking.
Yeah.
If people just want to hear us talking to Sol, then please let us know, because we can definitely.
We've probably got more stories for sure.
A lot more stories.
I forgot to thank our patrons last time. Last episode. So I know it's so bad. I just wanted to say, like, right now, thank you very much for supporting the podcast. These quarantine ones definitely wouldn't happen in the way they are without your support, basically, because a few logistic things that I've had to sort out. So thank you very much for that. It really is appreciated. And thank you all for listening, basically. Thanks for coming on, Sol.
No worries.
Yeah. Is there anywhere we can find you? Any things that you're up to? Because I think you've got some plans for the future.
I have some
plans.
plans.
Plug your YouTube video.
I have a YouTube video. It was kind of a start of a project that I wasn't sure about continuing. But it's going to be the world's project. It's about escapism and working out where we can go. I have a YouTube channel. If you search for, it's under Mini Jester. If you search for that in YouTube, you should be able to find it. It's I think it's where did I go this, or how to escape quarantine, how to escape your isolation.
I'll try and remember, and I'll try and put it into the thing, because it's really good, basically.
And we have we should have a LARP video coming out with YouTube.
We should. I'm assuming with our production scale that you will have your stuff done before us. So
you underestimate
that should be,
how
that
much
video
effort.
will be in the description below.
How much,
unless we beat him, which is.
It'll be your own doing.
That happening.
It'll be your own doing.
I've got to do another. There's another episode in the pipeline. So there's you're the one after that one.
Oh, there we go.
And I still need to work on the scripts for the intros and outros. So, and then record them over quarantine. So there's a lot of stuff that could potentially. And me, I'm also being lazy, obviously, and having no motivation. That's also an issue. So,
but we recorded stuff with you, didn't we? So
hours. I'm going through it.
Oh god, I kind of want the race to be on now. Like, let's see. If you go to the description, there's a video of us in there. Then I failed. But if not, then we do good. So anyway, enough waffling.
The race is on.
Strength to the Empire.
Strength to Navarre.
Bullshit. It's just a dumb beast, and will die like any other. Why on earth were you out there in the middle of the night anyway?
We were on our way here to Two Staff, but we were delayed in leaving.
Beryl and Mavis.
They sure do like to talk, don't they?
Same thing happened to us.
Are you here to collect the bounty?
No. We're no monster hunters. It's a personal matter. I came to find an old friend.